You ultimately left the show prematurely.
No, I got fired. It wasn't that I got fired, it was the way it was done.
So, what you up to?
Ooh, they're setting me up on a date.
A date? With a dude?
It turns out that Diddy and Luigi Mangione are both being held at Brooklyn's MDC, and their time behind bars is turning into quite the drama. Diddy has reportedly been struggling with a lot of negativity from other inmates. According to sources from the Daily Mail, he's upset about the hate he's been receiving inside the lockup, feeling like he's facing a lot of hostility from his fellow prisoners. But on the flip side, Luigi Mangione seems to be getting quite the opposite treatment. Luigi, who's facing serious charges including the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, has quickly earned the affection and respect of the other inmates. After being transferred to the MDC from a facility in Pennsylvania, he ended up sharing the same space as Diddy. While Diddy's having a hard time dealing with the negative attention, Luigi finds himself surrounded by a supportive crowd. What's even more interesting is the reason behind Luigi's popularity. Many of the inmates at the detention center have apparently found common ground with him, especially over shared struggles such as losing loved ones due to inadequate health care. These connections have reportedly made Luigi quite popular, and he's been able to get by with much more ease than Diddy, who's used to a very different kind of lifestyle. But as with any rumor, there's always a twist. Luigi's lawyers have denied any claims that Diddy is upset with him or the situation. They've made it clear that there's no tension between the two and that the whole story might be getting blown out of proportion. However, the dynamics between the two prisoners have certainly caught the attention of many. According to a report by the Mirror US, Diddy, who has entered a not guilty plea and continues to deny any wrongdoing in the charges against him, has not been in communication with Luigi Mangione during their time at the MDC. In fact, the two have reportedly made no effort to connect or engage with one another, as they have zero in common and their paths have not crossed inside the facility. Given the difference in their backgrounds, circumstances, and the charges they face, it's not surprising that the two aren't spending any time together. Despite their lack of interaction, there's an interesting connection between their legal teams that might make the story more complex than it appears. Both Diddy and Luigi are represented by lawyers who share a familial bond. Diddy's case is being handled by Mark Agnifilo, a prominent defense attorney known for his work on high-profile cases. But what adds a twist to this situation is that Luigi's defense is being managed by none other than Mark's wife, Karen Friedman Agnifilo. This overlap in the legal teams of these two high-profile prisoners is a curious one. Although Diddy and Luigi are not directly involved in each other's cases or personal lives, the fact that their respective legal battles are being handled by a husband and wife team shows just how interconnected the world of criminal defense can be, especially when dealing with such complex and high-stakes cases. Karen, who is also an experienced attorney in her own right, works alongside her husband Mark in defending clients who often face serious charges. While they might be working on different cases, their professional paths seem to have intertwined in this particular situation, given that both clients are now in the same prison and are facing public scrutiny for their actions. As of now, Diddy is still waiting for his trial, which is set for this spring. His defense attorneys are working hard to gather every piece of evidence that might prove his innocence. In fact, Diddy's legal team is arguing that some key videos in the case actually help support their client's side of the story, suggesting that he is not guilty of the accusations against him. According to legal documents obtained by Page 6, Diddy's lawyers believe that the videos show private, consensual, intimate activity between adults who were in a long-term relationship. The videos reportedly feature Diddy and his longtime girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, who is often referred to as Victim 1 in the case. Diddy's attorneys assert that these videos prove that Cassie not only consented to the activities but also genuinely enjoyed them, countering any claims of wrongdoing. One of the key issues in the case is whether Diddy himself held on to the footage. There's been a lot of debate about whether he kept these videos for personal use, and Diddy's defense is trying to clear up this misconception. His legal team argues that the 9 videos in question do not even exist on Diddy's devices. They claim that none of the videos were seized from his homes during the federal raid in early 2024. Instead, Diddy's lawyers state that Cassie Ventura kept the videos on her own personal device for years. What's more, they claim that she produced the footage herself to the authorities. Diddy's team also emphasized that Cassie was not only a willing participant but appeared to be evidently happy, dominant, and completely in control in the videos. This, they argue, further supports the idea that there was no coercion or manipulation involved in their relationship. According to Diddy's lawyers, there's no evidence of any mistreatment, threats, or coercion in the footage, which counters the accusations of misconduct. But regardless of what, there's no denying that Diddy did some unshakable things, and if Cassie was indeed enjoying these, then it's only because Diddy would likely kill her on the spot if she didn't participate willingly. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Diddy is doing well in prison, or do you think life there is driving him mad? Comment down below, and while we wait for more updates, make sure to subscribe and like for more updates on this case. He heard a rumor that Living Single was actually a launching pad for another huge sitcom on NBC, leaving him to wonder just how much behind-the-scenes maneuvering was happening. TC Carson shared some fascinating insights about the behind-the-scenes happenings surrounding Living Single. He recalled that when the show first premiered, Warren Littlefield, then president of NBC, was asked in an interview if he could choose any show on television, and he responded with Living Single. This admission made headlines, generating excitement among fans. Soon after, Friends burst onto the scene, which Carson acknowledged was an amazing show that was executed beautifully. "If you're going to rock it, that's the way to do it," he remarked. However, the similarities between the two shows raised eyebrows, particularly when it came to recycled storylines. For instance, he pointed out how Khadija constantly found herself dating yet another basketball player, asking sarcastically, "Who are you getting ready to live with this time?" He couldn't help but shake his head, reminiscing about how Cad's previous relationship with Grant Hill had been such a hot mess back in Season 2. Carson also highlighted some of the more ridiculous plot lines, like the infamous episode where Claire dressed up as a man. "Why? Just why?" he exclaimed, baffled by the choice. But the real kicker for him was the character of Kim, portrayed by the iconic Kim Fields. "She doesn't care about Charles. She's using him. She always wants what I have." "Like, what?" "Make a list," he joked. As the show approached its finale, he expressed his frustration over Kim's character arc. Finally, she snags a rich man and is so head over heels that she can't even bother to say goodbye. "We didn't deserve that kind of betrayal," Carson lamented. Then there was the much-anticipated finale episode, which left many viewers scratching their heads. While it was great to see Kyle Barker return, the context was baffling. He was brought back as a sperm donor for Maxine. "Oh, that's my profile of sperm donor 432, my man in the can," Carson quipped, incredulous at the decision. This wasn't just a disappointing season. It was a chaotic mess. And let's be real, we're still not over it. And rightfully so. TC Carson vividly recounted the bittersweet legacy of Living Single, a show that had been a top-rated black sitcom when it went off the air. "They pulled us from the lineup halfway through our last season," he explained, recalling how the network made the decision around Christmas, abruptly cutting short their run. What's more, after they were taken off the air, their reruns continued to dominate the ratings for the rest of the year. "Nobody stopped tuning in," he remarked. But the drama didn't end there. Carson teased, "Hold up, don't go anywhere just yet, 'cause we still got some lowdown, dirty behind-the-scenes drama that'll have you clutching your pearls." He hinted that the stories from behind the camera were even more shocking than some of the show's wildest plot twists. He reminisced about the sound stages used for filming. "To know what sound stage you guys were on, they now mark off like a different world, Living Single, and Friends, and I wanted to know where the Living Single one was," Carson said. "But we weren't there. We were on the ghetto lot." His frustration was palpable as he pointed out that all the major shows, especially those with predominantly white casts, were filmed on the more desirable lots. "We were on the ranch lot. We didn't have air conditioning," he lamented. The cast even staged a walkout due to the lack of craft services, highlighting the ongoing struggles they faced on set. Carson wondered aloud, Did Warner Brothers have a master plan when they borrowed the essence of Living Single to create the mega-hit Friends? Well, depending on who you ask, it might just seem that way. Imagine a sitcom showdown that could only be described as a clash of titans, 6 black characters versus 6 white characters, each group holed up in their respective apartments, strategizing their next big laugh. This is the backdrop against which John Henton and the Living Single cast found themselves infuriated when Friends was scheduled to air in the same time slot as their beloved show. As Henton recalled, Living Single had already established itself as a trailblazer in television. "No, we were on first," he emphasized. "We had done a year. We did our first season, and then Friends came the following season." Initially, Living Single had earned its place on Thursday nights, but then the network decided to move it to an 8:30 p.m. slot, directly pitting it against Friends. "It was like the original Friends versus Friends," Henton said, highlighting the frustration of being overshadowed by a show that followed in their footsteps. When Living Single premiered on August 22, 1993, it did so with an all-black cast that was nothing short of revolutionary. The show quickly became a staple for viewers, particularly young black audiences, who found its narratives relatable and its humor authentic. Throughout its 5-season run, the cast tackled issues that were real, raw, and unfiltered, topics that resonated deeply with the audience. The characters navigated love, friendship, and career challenges, all while delivering the kind of wit and humor that made viewers laugh and think. This show didn't just sit pretty in the TV guide. It dominated the ratings, Henton asserted, noting that Living Single consistently ranked in the top 5 among African American audiences during its entire run. This clash with Friends wasn't just about competition, it was a representation of a larger struggle for visibility and acknowledgement in an industry that often sidelined black stories. The Living Single cast, with their undeniable talent and charisma, set a standard for what representation in sitcoms could and should look like. Fast forward to September 22, 1994, and Friends burst onto the television scene, quickly becoming a cultural phenomenon. It debuted with an all-white, star-studded cast that included familiar names like Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, and Matthew Perry, who swiftly became household favorites. The show's witty dialogue and relatable situations captivated audiences, leading it to stretch across 10 seasons and a staggering 236 episodes. Yet, as Friends gained acclaim, many couldn't help but notice the striking similarities between it and Living Single. "Oh, before you guys go, can I just ask you a question?" one character quips, leading into playful banter about the appropriate amount of time to wait after a breakup before moving on. The humor is unmistakably relatable, but for those familiar with Living Single, it was hard to ignore how similar the premise felt: 6 black friends navigating life in New York City versus 6 white friends doing the same in an almost identical setting. For cast members of Living Single, the emergence of Friends was a double-edged sword. Was it a case of imitation as the sincerest form of flattery or a strategic move by Warner Brothers? John Henton pondered. The question lingered in the air, echoing the frustrations of many who felt their original work was overshadowed. "Get mad, because you're not getting any credit," he continued, highlighting the sense of injustice. "People talk about, 'Oh, what a great show that was,' and it was like it was based on ours. We don't get that type of credit, so it's kind of flattering, but at the same time, it's frustrating." Reflecting on television history, Henton recalled how shows like The Flintstones drew inspiration from earlier works yet acknowledged their origins. "Back in the day, you had Jackie Gleason that turned into the Flintstones. It's fun, but you acknowledged it. For us, we got no acknowledgement. That's the thing that bothered me the most." The comparisons didn't stop there. The parallel storylines, the ensemble casts, and even the backdrop of shared apartments in New York City felt too similar to ignore. "It was just too similar," he lamented. 6 of us, 6 black folks in New York City versus 6 white folks in New York City. Same apartment, same apartment." Hinton's voice carried a blend of pride and disappointment. "They'll say, 'Oh, that was the most creative show in the world.' They don't give us that kind of love. For the cast of Living Single, the success of Friends was a reminder of the recognition they deserved but often lacked. The struggle for visibility in a landscape dominated by white narratives was not just about ratings but about the legacy of black storytelling and the credit that was rightfully theirs. Right out of the gate, the 90s ushered in a juicy sitcom showdown that was anything but fair. Friends and Living Single found themselves locked in a fierce tug-of-war for viewers, but the odds were stacked against Living Single from the start. While Friends skyrocketed in popularity, NBC saturated the market with promotions covering New York City and merchandise that ranged from t-shirts to calendars. In contrast, Living Single was virtually invisible in the merchandising arena, left by Fox to languish in the shadows. The disparity was glaring. Friends enjoyed the privileges of filming on the big lot, which meant they had access to top-tier amenities, superior sets, and extensive promotional resources. At the end of it, they were making $1 million an episode or something like that, he lamented. We didn't approach, at least I never approached, any of those numbers. The financial chasm highlighted the systemic inequalities in the television industry, especially for shows with predominantly black casts. But the drama didn't stop there. In a bold and brazen move, Fox shifted Living Single from its cozy Sunday evening slot to a cutthroat Thursday night face-off, directly against Friends. Talk about a setup. Viewers were suddenly forced to choose sides, propelling Friends into the stratosphere of cultural phenomenon while Living Single tragically met its end after just 5 seasons. The decision to pit these two shows against each other not only fractured the audience but also led to a significant decline in viewership for Living Single, which had once dominated the ratings. If you thought that was scandalous, TC Carson, who brought Kyle Barker to life, claimed he was canned from Living Single after daring to call out Warner Brothers for sidelining their show in favor of Friends. In a revealing interview, Carson didn't hold back about the tension simmering behind the scenes. He had become the unofficial spokesperson for the crew, always stepping up to address grievances with the producers. He'd be the one to say, "Okay, y'all, we need to talk," whenever they had to tackle some drama on set, recalled. One of his co-stars, Living Single, turns 30. TC Carson is still feeling the impact as the iconic show celebrates its 30th anniversary. A whole new audience has discovered it through streaming and syndication. While the cast has moved on to new heights in the entertainment industry over the decades, the love from both new and longtime fans continues to pour in. TC Carson, who played Kyle Barker, welcomes it all with open arms, but he's also developed a fresh perspective on life during these times. "I'm working to get a handle on my mental stability," Carson shared during our interview. The actor acknowledges that the current political climate has affected his well-being, yet he channels that energy into his passion for acting as a way to unplug and recharge. With racial tensions rising, manifesting in attacks on our education system, revisionist history, and a war against black bodies, shows like Living Single and characters like Kyle Barker remind us that it's always okay to be our authentic selves and to surround ourselves with people who understand that. What I realize is that if they can keep you off-center, if they can keep you stressed and agitated, then you end up spending money to escape those feelings, Carson explained, addressing those who continue to oppress our community. So the goal is to avoid that state of mind and recognize that a lot of good things are still happening. In many ways, life has mirrored art. When you hear TC Carson speak today and reflect on his time on Living Single, we're all aware of the world around us. But like the 6 friends on the beloved show, laughter and living life brought them together, serving as a form of escapism from society's treatment of people who looked like them. The show didn't shy away from serious topics. It tackled issues head-on while always emphasizing the strength of their bond and facing each challenge. Born and raised in Chicago, Carson was instrumental in bringing the image of an educated black man to television. He portrayed Kyle Barker, a smooth-talking Wall Street executive who unapologetically went after what he wanted, and most of the time, he got it. This role was significant not just for the viewers of Living Single, but also for Carson himself, who often challenged the narratives being crafted in the writer's room. "I recognized early on what the show meant to my community," Carson reflects. "I could see the impact it had on young brothers and young women," he explains. In today's age of social media and intense social commentary, the influence of living single is more evident than ever. We watched Khadijah's entrepreneurial journey, Maxine's career as a lawyer, and Sinclair's determination to become an actress. Alongside Regine's unapologetic exploration of her path, young black boys saw Overton's creativity and Kyle's intelligence as a successful stockbroker. This offered a positive representation that was rare at the time. We hadn't seen that level of success or work ethic before, Carson observes about the characters' lives and careers. I felt a responsibility to ensure we didn't become buffoons or the butt of jokes, he says, recalling how young black men would approach him to express how much the show meant to them. Carson's commitment to telling authentic stories ultimately led to his departure from the show, a moment he refers to as being fired. Yet, he has no regrets about his advocacy for meaningful representation. I don't regret anything I was pushed to do on that show. All of the battles we fought were vital for the show's legacy. That's why living single is what it is today, he says confidently. With a career spanning over 30 years, TC Carson has never lost sight of his first love, music. The multi-talented star has been performing and sharing his unique voice, which fans got a taste of during several episodes of Living Single. Now, Carson is fully reconnecting with that passion. There's no better feeling than being on stage with my band, the sound just right, and everyone vibing. It doesn't get any better than that, he says. Fans have embraced Carson's musical talents, whether through his social media performances or live shows at venues like City Winery. As he continues to celebrate his role in such a groundbreaking show, one thing is certain: Carson will always stand up for representation, ensuring that we are seen.